Hey janitor, the trash cans are that way. The biker's laugh rang out across the crowded terminal as his boots scraped against the linoleum. Marcus Hill stood at his post by the security checkpoint, uniform pressed, badge shining faintly under the harsh lights. But the biker didn't see that. He only saw skin. He only saw what he wanted to mock. Travelers slowed, whispering, some half smiling at the cruelty they didn't dare interrupt. The biker grabbed Marcus's sleeve, tugging it like he was testing fabric. "What's a guy like you doing in this uniform? You clean floors, not guard them." Marcus didn't answer. His eyes followed the man's hand, then flicked to the badge tossed back against his chest. For a moment, the entire checkpoint seemed suspended. He adjusted his stance, boots firm on the ground. And everyone watching knew, something was about to break. The biker didn't stop at words. He shoved Marcus hard, sending his shoulder into the metal detector arch with a hollow clang. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones tilted higher, recording. A woman near the line muttered, "Isn't he security?" but no one stepped forward. Marcus steadied himself, the sting in his arm nothing compared to the burn in his chest. He remembered his father's voice, calm, deep, warning him that some people would never see past his skin. "Pick it up," the biker barked, tossing Marcus's ID badge onto the polished floor. The lanyard slid until it stopped at a scuffed boot. Marcus looked down at it, then back up. His jaw flexed, but his hands stayed at his sides. "You deaf? Get on your knees, janitor," another biker jeered, his laughter echoing cruelly. The word cut deeper than the shove. Around them, TSA agents exchanged uneasy glances, frozen by the gang's reputation. The air felt charged, like a storm about to break. Marcus crouched, not to obey, but to reclaim what was his. His fingers closed around the badge, knuckles widening. As he rose, his shoulders squared, his stance widened. The biker reached again, gripping Marcus's collar. This time Marcus didn't stagger. He held his ground, eyes steady, his breath measured like he'd been trained to do long ago. The biker's grin faltered. "What are you looking at?" he snarled. Marcus finally spoke, his voice low and deliberate. "I'm looking at a man who thinks fear is power." The insult hung in the air. Passengers shifted uneasily, sensing the balance tipping. Marcus slid the badge back over his neck, the gesture small but loaded with defiance. For the first time, silence cracked the noise of the terminal. People waited, breath caught, to see if he would bend, or if this moment would shatter everything. The biker yanked harder, his fist tightening on Marcus's collar until fabric stretched at the seams. "Say it again," he growled, his spit flecking Marcus's cheek. Another biker barked out, "Make him crawl. Let's see if that badge means anything now." Marcus's breath came slow, steady. He had been here before, not in a terminal, but on training grounds, surrounded by men who thought breaking him would be easy. He lifted his eyes, locking onto the biker's glare. "You want me on the floor? You'll have to put me there yourself." The challenge was quiet, but it cut deeper than a shout. Gasps rippled through the line of travelers. A boy clutching his mother's hand whispered, "Is he gonna fight?" The mother shook her head quickly, as though praying the scene would end. The biker shoved Marcus backward, and his heel clipped the frame of the baggage scanner. He stumbled, but instead of falling, Marcus pivoted and grabbed the cracked wooden chair at the guard station. In one motion, he tore free the splintered armrest. The sharp crack echoed like a gunshot. Now he held it steady, jagged end angled toward the biker's chest. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't rise. "This is not your ground. Not today." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the biker's face. His crew shifted, their earlier laughter drained into uneasy silence. The crowd leaned forward, phones capturing every second. From the entrance, heavy footsteps pounded. A commanding voice thundered, "Enough." Uniformed officers surged forward, led by Sergeant Alvarez, a black officer with presence carved from stone. His eyes scanned the scene, Marcus, unyielding with the splintered wood, the biker frozen mid-sneer. "Drop him," Alvarez ordered. His tone left no room for debate. The biker's hand slipped from Marcus's collar, the swagger draining out like air from a punctured tire. Passengers erupted in murmurs, sensing a tide turning before their eyes. And in that suspended breath, everyone realized the man they thought powerless was holding the entire terminal in his grasp. The officers moved fast, pinning two of the bikers against the wall. The leader tried to pull free, but Alvarez clamped the cuffs with a snap that silenced even his curses. As the gang was dragged toward the exit, the ringleader twisted his head, eyes locked on Marcus. The smirk he wore earlier was gone, replaced with something rougher, something close to respect, though his pride wouldn't let it show. The passengers who had been recording didn't lower their phones. Now, instead of laughter, there was applause, cautious at first, then spreading through the line like fire. A woman in business attire called out, "He stood his ground. Don't you forget that." Others nodded, their earlier silence breaking into voices of support. Marcus lowered the chair leg slowly, laying it across the counter as if returning a borrowed weapon. His hands finally trembled, the adrenaline draining out, but his posture never faltered. Alvarez approached, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "You didn't need to prove anything," he said quietly, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "But you did. And they'll remember." Marcus's gaze swept the terminal, the same faces that had looked away now met his eyes directly. For once, he wasn't invisible. He wasn't the man mistaken for a janitor or dismissed as, just another. He was the man who had refused to bow. Somewhere in the distance, the intercom chimed, announcing boarding for Flight 227. The normal rhythm of the airport returned, but nothing about this space felt the same anymore. By evening, the footage was already online, replayed across feeds with captions that burned through the noise. "Black guard stands tall." Reporters called, officials issued statements, but Marcus stayed away from the spotlight. He walked the quiet halls of the security office, the buzz of the day finally dimming. On his desk sat the badge that had been hurled to the ground hours earlier. Its edge was scuffed, the plastic cracked where the biker's boot had pressed it down. Marcus traced the mark with his thumb. To some, it was just damage. To him, it was proof. Of what he endured, of what he refused to surrender. Alvarez stepped in, leaving a small frame wrapped in brown paper. "Thought you might want this." Inside was the badge, mounted on velvet, the crack left untouched, like a scar made permanent. A brass plate beneath read, "For the one who never bowed." Marcus stared at it, a flicker of a smile crossing his face. Not triumph. Something steadier. He hung it on the wall, just above the door where every officer would pass. Outside, planes lifted into the night sky, their lights vanishing into the dark. And in that framed badge, battered but unbroken, lived the reminder that sometimes the mark of dignity isn't found in how pristine something looks, but in how it survives when someone tries to break it. Even in the face of cruelty, Marcus showed that true strength isn't about striking back but about standing firm when others try to strip away your worth. His story reminds us that respect is not granted by uniforms or titles but earned through presence and courage. If this touched you, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories that reveal hidden truths and inspire us to rise above prejudice together.